You know what I love about photos is that a series of photos, or sometimes even just a single photo, can tell a story. Those stories, whether they be real or imagined, can bring up memories and emotions. Many ponies keep photos to remember the good times, to remember their accomplishments, to recall things from their past. Others like to have photos that tell a story and keep them lost in a fantasy. And in the case of both Rarity and the CMC, their photos are about remembering things that they care about, whether it's their clients or their family. Today's story starts out with Rarity and Sassy Saddles in one of Rarity's boutiques, away from Ponyville, going through a lot of stress as they try to frantically get ready for another season, go over the stock and the other chores, and do all the things that need to be done to keep the boutique running. Amongst all of this stress and worry, Rarity looks at a photo of herself and Sweetie Belle and begins to remember the good old days when her and her sister were young, and she starts to cry over how they haven't done these fun things in a long time, and she desperately needs to take some time out for family and try to spend some time with her sister and catch up. Sassy decides to allow Rarity this precious moment, and so Rarity heads back to Ponyville to hook up with Sweetie Belle and try to have some fun times before they're both too old to enjoy the fun stuff. Back in Ponyville, Sweetie Belle and the other members of the CMC are doing their job as dictated by the destiny of their cutie marks. They're helping a pony discover the destiny that will get him his cutie mark. In this case, it's a pony with a flair for art, specifically sculpting. Always nice to see another artist up and coming in Ponyville. After helping him, they return to the treehouse to meet with another client, Zipperwill, who received a puppy for her quinceanera during Fluttershy's pet fair, where she and the Ponytones helped give away pets. That puppy has since then grown into a full-grown dog and is no longer interested in the puppy games that Zipperwill used to enjoy playing with her puppy with. Zipperwill is confused as to why her puppy no longer wants to play with her and why it seems to no longer love her, and she wants the CMC to give her advice because her cutie mark is all puppy related. As the CMC are about to do this, Rarity comes into the treehouse to spend time with Sweetie Belle, kind of interrupting the thing with the client, but Rarity's business sense immediately realizes that the CMC are with a client and she needs to step back and respect the client relationship that they have. And she also gives some respect to the CMC for having a wall full of photos that highlight the many accomplishments that they've had over time. These photos tell some really interesting stories, but we don't really have time to go into analyzing them one at a time. I do, however, appreciate the whole photo wall thing because that's sort of my thing as well. I, like the CMC, love to remember my accomplishments and my memories by putting each special one on the wall. Looking back at each individual photo, they all bring back the memories and stories captured in that exact moment. Rarity also praises Sweetie Belle and the CMC for being very professional with their clients, doing little touches like providing them with a bowl of mints. Eventually, Scootaloo and Apple Bloom realize that Sweetie Belle needs to spend time with Rarity, and they decide to allow her to go on with her sister and enjoy a day off from work. The other two should be more than capable of handling Zipperwill's puppy problem. So Rarity and Sweetie Belle go off to enjoy the things that Rarity remembers Sweetie Belle used to enjoy. But as more and more things get done, we see Sweetie Belle clearly showing that she's grown up, she's too old for this, and these activities no longer interest her. Unfortunately, Rarity still sees Sweetie Belle as a young child and can't seem to comprehend the idea that she's moved on and found new interests, and is trying to relive all of the interests that she remembers the two of them doing together when Sweetie Belle used to be younger. One last desperate attempt to do the fun things of childhood before accepting the fact that that child has grown up and has to move on. This situation with Sweetie Belle parallels what's happening with Zipperwill and her puppy. The puppy, like Sweetie Belle, has grown up and lost interest in typical puppy games and needs to do more grown-up, mature, dog-related activities instead of childish little puppy activities. Zipperwill has to realize that her puppy still loves her, he just prefers doing more mature activities instead of childish ones, and that's why he's not interested in the games that he used to play when he was younger. One grows up and one's interests change, and it's time to move on. Both Rarity and Sweetie Belle and Zipperwill and her puppy need to realize this and accept change as it comes to them. There was lots of fun stuff that happened along the way, such as Rarity and Sweetie Belle going on a costumed photo shoot, taking their pictures in various costumes in front of various backgrounds. Yeah, that's my cousin helping them out. I wasn't able to be there personally, but you can tell from the mane we're related. I always do appreciate ponies who appreciate photography, so it was really cool to see that. Overall, it was an enjoyable story and so nice to see Zipperwill back again. She's some pony that I just never had the chance to truly get to know, and it was nice to see a little bit more of her personality come forward. And it was also nice to see the puppeteer pony and his puppets make a comeback as well. The costumes in the costume photo session are also nice callbacks to other costumes we've seen used in the show, like during Nightmare Night and so forth. Additionally, the costumes had an added feature of being these combinations of Rarity dressed as the older version of the thing that Sweetie Belle was dressed as the younger version of. And they were all very adorable costumes at that. Big takeaway from all of this is that we learn, even if family members grow up, it's very common for other family members to not be willing to accept that, yes, we do grow up. There's two ways that this happens, as it happens often to many. Sometimes, as is in the case with Rarity and Sweetie Belle, you can see one family member grow up while the elder family member doesn't want to admit that the younger family member has indeed grown up, and they continue to treat that younger family member as if they were still a child. And they do all of the things that that family member used to enjoy when they were younger, and don't quite know what it is that the family member is currently interested in. But it can also possibly happen that the youngest family member, upon getting slightly older, might start feeling nostalgic for the things of their childhood and might take one last chance to enjoy those things from a slightly more mature perspective, such as going back to revisit what it was like to play with your favorite childhood toys while having the maturity to create a fully fleshed out story for those toys. Whether it's the way I just described or the way that Rarity did to Sweetie Belle, we all have issues with letting go of childhood, trying to grow up, and dealing with nostalgia. Interesting to see moving forward what other things Sweetie Belle, Apple Bloom, and Scootaloo will do as they continue to grow up and how their sisters will react to that aging. How long before the CMCs start growing taller or becoming interested in boys, perhaps. And as a photographer, I did enjoy getting to see all of the heavy emphasis on photos and the memories that photos represent, especially the wall full of pictures that the CMC has collected since they began working with clients. I am reminded, too, of a few times where this sort of thing has happened before. For one example, there's the story of Helga Pataki and her father, Big Bob. Bob had missed out on his daughter Helga's childhood and was trying to recapture some of those moments with her. But the time he spent with her was spent doing extraordinarily juvenile things that she hadn't done for a very, very long time, and he ended up embarrassing her in front of her secret crush, Arnold. That's just one example of how this kind of story has been done before. But I think this story did things in a slightly different way and was overall enjoyable. Not hilariously so, but it was a pretty well told story, and perhaps one of the best stories to come out with Rarity and Sweetie Belle in mind. Not better than the time that the two of them entered the Sisterhood's social together, but it was still a very good entry into the history of their stories. Sometimes we can even learn the lesson that you don't have to give up childish things just because you become an adult. Sometimes adults can enjoy what children enjoy as well, just from a slightly different perspective. Perhaps a more mature variant of that once childish thing, or perhaps from a different angle than the way children enjoy it, such is the case with ice cream or stories. It's never good to let go of childhood completely just because you reach a certain number. Anyhow, that's about all I have to say for right now. Thank you for watching and good night.
Yeah, we're the sister. Everything is twice as nice. You can double all your fun, 'cause two is better than one.